To make some big deal, big stink about like only car guys, only people who know automobiles know what this is, but I didn't feel like bringing a whole tire iron in the house. Real petrol heads know HKS confetti pattern, only real petrol heads.
Let's ride. Let's ride. Let's ride. Let's ride. Lavender Lamborghini, roll up in a blue bikini. Bitches on the beaches looking super cute and freaky. All my friends are princesses, we keep it whipped and creamy. Ice cubes on our tongues because we like to keep it freezy. Lavender Lamborghini, get out on the right side. Should've stayed at home because my girl wanted to ride. Licking lips and tasting plush and feeling so alive. Wanna take it to the highway, come on, let's go for a drive. All my life, I've been waiting for a good time, a good time. Let me ride, let me ride. All my life, I've been waiting for a good time, a good time. So let me ride, let me ride. All my life, I've been waiting for a good time. So let's ride. Bitches know they can't catch me. Cute, sexy, and my ride sporty. Those slugs know they can't catch me. Beep beep. So let's ride.
With us entering the year 2024, cars are now getting refresh after refresh, and it should be an exciting time, but I'm not excited at all. I find myself quite disgusted because these new cars that are coming out, these new EVs, quote unquote, aren't cars at all, but they're just glorified appliances on wheels. With more and more people aware of the current graypocalypse in design, most people are aware of it when it comes to automotive design. That being said, I'd also argue that cars now more than ever are less of a lifestyle product than they were before, and it's just something that people have to get the job done. Most people who buy cars, 1, can't afford them, 2, don't really get much of a choice, and 3, don't give a shit as long as it's roomy enough to move from house to house, or apartment to apartment, I should say. I'd even go as far as to say that car culture is on its deathbed, if not already dead. It's knocking on death's door, and we only have ourselves to blame, or at least the culture of cars to blame. But is it car culture and the actual consumers I blame, or is it the automotive industry as well as the consolidation of power and the elimination of choice in the actual automotive buying experience that is to blame? And you're not insane, nobody's gaslighting you, I promise. Cars truly did used to be made and manufactured far better. For simple example, take the fact that cars when I was younger used to be made out of this material. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, it's called metal. And cars now are commonly made out of this new material called plastic. Take the build quality of a new Ford Bronco versus a vintage one. Sure, the new one has tons of gizmos, gadgets, and shit on the inside, but I'd argue the build quality simply isn't there. While being 3 times more expensive and lacking all the character, charm, details, and finishes of a vintage Ford Bronco. And it's not just the interiors of the cars that are becoming more and more plastic. Granted, this part is the interior of the car, but like the engines themselves are becoming more plastic, because why the fuck are there plastic intake manifolds? Now, while granted, yeah, the cars might be made better, they might be stronger, they might help you survive a crash, but the build quality of the cars themselves is far inferior to what we used to get. And this might be rose-tinted glasses, and yeah, sure, cars lasted a lot less than they last now. But I'd argue that the amount of money, time, and repair that you have to put in to get to that 100,000 mile, 200,000 mile mark is far greater than what it used to be. Is if your engine bay is big enough for you to even stick your hands in there, because the engine bays are smaller and smaller. Now you can't even fuck around and find out what's wrong with your car. You just end up having to take it to the shop. Before we even break down the different classifications and types of cars that we don't get anymore, let's just point out the obvious. Sedans are on their deathbed as well, because everybody and their mom wants these ginormo ass fucking crossovers. And as somebody who drives a 2022 model year vehicle, just shopping for sedans during that year was like pulling fucking teeth on an elephant, because they were nigh impossible to find, let alone any of these following classifications of car: convertible, minivan, and station wagon. And those are just the most baseline of examples. The more niche you dig, the harder it is to find something. Say look at like land yachts or even mid-engines. There was a point in time when rotary and mid-engines were common in car lineups. They weren't common, but you know, the NSX and the MR2 did exist and you could easily find them. That's not to discredit the fact that Americans simply prefer larger vehicles. It's essentially the McMansion of automotive design, but that also could be people compensating for the lack of power in their day-to-day lives. That's all to say a lot of people don't need the big cars that they're so infatuated with, even though they're quote-unquote safer according to them, but like, they're really not. But put a cone on that about the larger vehicles. I'd like to touch more on this idea of it being the consumer's choice. In fact, here's some 411 facts about the automotive industry as cited by the University of Michigan, because I in fact stay studious around these parts, and I'm so studious I'm cite multiple sources in the description. Changes to the CAFE standards. Consumer automotive fuel efficiency created a pseudo-exploit, making it more profitable for companies to sell larger cars than small ones, meaning that they had to meet fuel efficiency targets year after year. So if the target was say 40 miles per gallon, they would, instead of alt efficiency in say the drivetrain or power distribution, they could then use the footprint loophole to make the car larger, because the larger cars got away with being less fuel efficient, thus making it easier to add some weight and pounds to the vehicle to put a car on a keto diet. The footprint loophole was put in place because they worried, in fact, that the standards would actually have caused a favoritism to small cars, but we can tell that it actually produced the opposite. It only produced larger cars. Not to mention that they also got penalized by not meeting these goals by putting non-fuel efficient cars on the market, thus creating a profit-driven incentive for these companies to make larger vehicles, as well as the changing tides and ideas of what consumers expected a car to be. Now granted, a lot of people simply prefer larger vehicles because they are quote-unquote safer, at least from the outside perspective, but that's not to dismiss the fact that as these vehicles get larger and larger, they become a greater hazard for those not within one of these giant sarcophaguses on wheels. But that's also not to discredit the fact that these cars now have a changing role in our day-to-day lives. Once they were a leisure and lifestyle product, but now they are purely utilitarian, and utilitarian is an ironic word to use because a lot of y'all be driving SUVs, but don't be doing no sports or utility. And this footprint loophole has more or less turned an entire segment of the car and auto industry, which was once relegated by sedans, coupes, as well as starter sports cars, into what is now known as the light truck market. Just for example, look at how Ford doesn't even sell cars besides the Mustang, but now they got the Mustang quote-unquote truck. Though this need for cars to meet certain safety requirements isn't inherently new to our history with the automobile. We can see this reflected in the convertible crisis of the 1960s, which led to the invention of the Cadillac Eldorado. At one point in time was considered to be the last convertible in America. This convertible panic was fueled by a change in the safety regulations in regards to the need for cars to hold their own weight in a rollover crash, which is kind of why cars are so bulky today. Though going back to the 1960s, this would lead us into the Iacocca years and the invention of the Chrysler LeBaron. Say today more so our disappearance of convertibles is more so due to that fact of cars having a changing role in our lives and no longer being seen as a leisure and luxury product. It's not as much practical to own a convertible as it is to own a crossover. Being why cars went from being lean, mean, muscle machines to being look like they were trained exclusively by Brock Lesnar. with trucks in particular being a giant pissing contest for one's ego, getting larger and larger thanks to the loophole made by the footprint clause in the EPA regulation. And the reason I had mentioned land yachts earlier as somebody who comes from a family who owns a Cadillac, I can't help but look at what the truck market has become as nothing more than a glorified replacement for the luxury sedan market, especially with this Axios article that describes word association via truck owners. Word associations like durable, workhorse, dependable, we now have word associations for truck consumers along the lines of stuff like modern, technologically advanced. Mention the more than luxurious price tag that is tacked on to these new trucks. And while I mentioned metal car parts earlier, I'm not going to ignore the fact that metal cars are a bigger sarcophagus on wheels than any type of fiberglass car would be. But it's more so just to truly emphasize the lack of build quality in these cars. More so important to acknowledge that the bigger that these cars get, they once again pose a bigger threat not to those on the inside, but those on the outside. They're made to shatter into a million pieces upon impact. Doesn't negate the fact that these big trucks and ginormous SUVs and crossovers have huge blind spots in which you get struck, you are more than likely to die if you were to have gotten hit by a Volvo in 2009. All of car culture is in this giant crisis right now. On the one hand, you have these 5'2" dudes who are driving these trucks that they can't see above the steering wheel without a booster seat, and then on the one hand, you have tech bros jerking off any and everything that gets added to a car that has the word technology in it, bro. It's fucking trifling. Not like anybody really wants these glorified go-karts anyways, but here goes California starting this regulation in which they're trying to phase out all motorized cars. Newsflash, California.
Shut the fuck up!
Moses here, yo. Slipstream Turbo can make another race of your bitch. Just draft them until your meter fills and flashes red. Then hit the nitrous and watch her cry like a little girl.
If you're coming close, I pull ahead. I only see green and I never see red. I rip the racetrack like I drop flows and A-gas. How do you do that? I bring that intensity to make an MC slip, cause I'll bit your whole style.
Dudes like a good car, right? You know, I grew up around cars. Cars are a huge part of my life. That's the exact reason why I'm standing next to this poster of a plastic version of a Ferrari 328. Because of this, I obviously consume a lot of content of people talking about the wheelie automobiles, and a lot of these arguments that I see in regards to car design, etc., are usually value judgments based off of personal taste. But I'm going to give you the 411 facts, right? There are certain design trends that we are seeing in car design, thanks to certain elements like the Section 137 clause, which allows you to tax write-off vehicles of a certain size. And a lot of these design trends and ideas that we now see in car design are really facilitated from people who aren't car enthusiasts or give a shit about car design or the practicality of the automotive driving experience. People, they just want big vehicle, safe, have good sound system, have touchscreen infotainment system. They don't give a shit about the creature comforts, and if it drives itself, even fucking better. So I had to take my hair down, right? But a lot of these changes in the automotive industry are not reflective of a better, more quality build to a car, right? Yeah, they are safer, but all this technology, bells, whistles, shit that they be adding in there really just makes the car more expensive to maintain and upkeep for the average consumer. Let's be real, let's be honest. Why is every car a wide body now? It's the safety regulations. Does that make it okay? No. But that's the reason. Why fuck are roads getting so big we need to put them on diets, bro? Roads are going on diets? Like, listen, I'm not one of those people who's like, oh my god, public transportation is the only way. No, I have a great appreciation for automotive design, the culture of cars, as well as auto sport. But like, let's be 100% real. The average person is getting priced out of the car market. All these safety features, all these bells and whistles because Tweedledee and Tweedledum can't stay off their fucking phone while they're behind the wheel of a car. So all of us have to suffer because we need mandatory features like lane keep assist, fucking backup cameras, backup sensor, auto braking systems, etc, etc. So and you might ask, what's the solution to all of this? Well, it's to add more fucking screens, more fucking bells and whistles to the inside of the car. Let's take away tactile buttons on the inside of the car, so now just to change the AC, you fiddling with a touchscreen that wants to fight back with you while you going 70 miles per hour. Perfect example, Honda announced their new vacuum cleaner, car. I'm not really the biggest fan of the design, but I'll warm up to it. But it's such a revolutionary design, it's alienating, that's kind of the appeal of it, I get that. It's overfed fucking Dyson, and I'm like, damn bro, why y'all got an LED screen in the front? I can't wait to get rear-ended by somebody because they were too busy looking at the car behind them because they have an LED bumper, whatever the fucking LED bumper sounds like the stupidest phrase I've ever heard. Get your LED bumper fixed because your LED bumper's all fucked up. You got dent on the grill because the motherfucker behind you is not paying attention and his lane keep assist gave out or whatever the fuck. Like, what are we doing, bro? Like, this is stupid. All this is superfluous, bro. This is not making a better car experience, and here I am, all I'm asking for is some damn brown leather seats, bro. Is it so hard to find a car with a leather interior and some damn wood grain in 2024, bro? But thank God I can get 80 panoramic LED screens in that bitch. There's no more automotive equivalent to like a Lee Iacocca who's pushing car design and innovation from the consumer comfort standpoint. It's just them trying to make more money by adding more bullshit tech to cars. The concept of a lifestyle car is completely dead. Being said, the people who have the money to buy a lifestyle car in this day and age are too stupid to realize that Teslas don't have the build quality to actually command the price point they're commanding, and they're built with the integrity of a fourth grader's science project. Amount of tangible textural design details and elements in these ugly ass gray insect vehicles is actually insulting. Insulting due in part to the fact that I bought my gray vehicle not because it was really a choice, but it was because I had to. He's taking big swings or adding actual risky design elements or character building design choices to these vehicles. And with cars getting more and more expensive, it's even more insulting that these fucking glorified appliances have no character for me to actually connect to. God, I can connect my PlayStation though in the new Sony car. And while I understand a lot of these choices are made for my benefit and my safety, I can't help but look at these new cars and their hype and their dynamic design with no definitive character traits or features, feel truly upset like none of this is worth my time or money. And while I'm glad something like the new Charger does have a B-pillar delete, that's not a common feature. Features that I love like opera glass, opera lights don't exist on cars anymore. Yet I see companies make resto mod after resto mod to draw interest, yet these tiny Ford trucks are not actually coming to market. I can't help but feel some type of upset when I get super hype about the Hyundai EV Grandeur only for the production model to look like an overfed beluga whale car like the rest of them. Cars are genuinely starting to look like you asked a 3-year-old to design a car off of memory alone. And while the streamlining of the production process is nothing new, about how much these overly standardized body-on-frame designs are truly hindering the creative capability of the automotive design experience, thus hindering the amount of choice in the automotive buying process. Lest we forget all these colors only come in 3 different shades of gray. All these new crossovers that are coming to market, and I'm like, damn, all these features, it sounds like y'all just really want a conversion van to come back. Crazy, y'all will send station wagons overseas, but y'all won't bring one out over here. because less they sit on the lot, because now the entire car market is so min-maxed to hell and back, can sit on the car lot for more than 6 days without everybody getting up in arms. I don't know, part of me wants to be optimistic, but the other part of me knows that Renault bought out Nissan in the early 2000s or the late 90s. I can't remember what it was, but the point is the reason why nobody wants a used car from the 2010s or the early 2000s is because of things like big Ultima energy, which was caused by Renault cheapening the Nissan brand. Cars are cheaper than ever, but they're more expensive than ever. My thing is that if I'm going to be paying a $500 plus car payment for the rest of my life, I'd at least like to have a little bit of say in that torture. You see what I'm saying? Anyways, thank you for taking time out of your day. Thank you for taking time out of your day to spend some time with me. I'm as always greatly appreciate it. Have a nice one, 1,000 kisses. Be safe out there. Don't be late on your car payment.